a lot of the challenges we try to address become more and more complex. It's not like at the beginning, if your research is only try to discover certain material and that you can be a silo. Sometimes the question is very well defined. All you need is just consistency and talent and try to attack the problem from a different angle. But I think the world is completely different now. If you're looking at all the tools, the utility, and with data become a additional tools for people doing scientific research, and also thinking about AI. How many of the scientists saw this before, where AI could be part of the research utility for them to explore? I think with the evolvement of all the excitement of technologies and your problems is also getting more and more complex. This is not something one or two person can do. If you want to generate real world impact, it has to be interdisciplinary.
From Purdue University, it's Techies Today, the Purdue Polytechnic podcast. The second of 3 episodes about research features a conversation with Associate Dean Justin Yang. You've probably heard the proverb, "It takes a village." The idea that the best result comes about when an entire community of people work together in pursuit of a common goal. In academia today, Justin Yang says that researchers are more likely to achieve real-world impact by collaborating with people from outside their own disciplines. This is why much of the research taking place here at Purdue is interdisciplinary in nature. But for those of us who are not scientists, I asked Justin, what does it mean to be a researcher at an R1, that is, a Tier 1 research university? And with Purdue's focus on artificial intelligence and other initiatives, how will the Polytechnic's research impact areas evolve into action-oriented, use-inspired research centers? Here's Justin Yang.
The R1 classification is a Carnegie classification, and it actually came a long time ago. I believe at the time, maybe in 1994, where they're setting up certain criteria, like you have to give a doctorate degree, it has to cover STEM, it has to cover maybe humanities, society science, maybe a little bit of education, business school. So you have to have maybe 70, at least 70 doctoral students conferred every year. You have to have about 40 million, back then, now it's 50 million research expenditure. So there's a whole lot of different criteria. So back then there was only like 59 institutions are qualified as R1 institution. But now with more and more universities pushing their research agenda, so I think now the list is about 146 institutions. It's got basically a slogan to say, your college not only educate the next generation of talent, but also you make a breakthrough in terms of the research, whether it's science, engineering, technology, business, what you have. So I think it's in a certain degree, back to President Chang's comment, it is excellent at scale, if you will. So it's simplified by not only producing high quality undergrad students, but also the PhD students, funded research from a federal or industry. And for some of the institutions, if they are able to move from R2 to R1, that's a very, very big deal. So I hope that answered your question.
It does. I imagine being an R1 just gets you that much more attention from funding agencies?
I think it's the R1. There are many different advantages of being an R1 institution. Number one, you will have all the talent across the whole world looking for you because they want to study at R1 institution, get their degree, and having the funding available, funded research, not only making them do some work more meaningful, but also in some way cover their tuitions and give them a salary. I think it's a symbol of excellence in terms of the research. So not only help you with funding, but also help you attract students. They're really, really crucial for any institution to push forward their research agenda.
Okay, very good. So every professor and grad student, of course, has his or her own general field of study. Here in the Polytechnic, we have the fields of aviation, computing and graphics, construction management, engineering technology, and technology, leadership, and education. So again, for our listeners who are not researchers. Would you please walk us through the general process of coming up with an idea, writing a proposal for it, looking for funding, and then getting started on the research?
Yes. I think the research actually took quite a different forms in terms of looking for funding, getting the funded research, but mostly we're thinking about two of them. So part of the challenges for our Polytechnic faculty is often that the specific subject we're teaching are not necessarily geared directly towards some of the funding, funding projects. So there's a little bit of something that Polytechnic faculty have to do in addition to give the best hands-on learning at the undergraduate level. But mainly we're taking about two different shapes. One is you already have some research going. So you're probably working with students, you have publications. For example, you might be locked into thinking, well, can I come up with something that could prevent the disaster like we happened a few days ago when the CrowdStrike, they kind of roll out the patch and turns out to be a big nightmare. So some of the researchers, some of the faculties are actually study the security and privacy. They have very, very nice publications. So they connected to the field, and then they constantly looking for funding opportunities, maybe from NSF, DOD, or sometimes state government. And some other faculty may also looking for DOT, the Transportation Department of Education. So this is the source number one, is where you have the publication. And then you're looking for funding opportunities and see, well, how is my research can be translated into something the funding agencies might want to do. A second approach is the other way around. You're constantly reading, what's out there and think, well, if NSF want to have a large center for maybe in chips design or something, well, how can we come up with a team? Or can we have something that's potentially available, either as a short-term or long-term, for some of those funding agencies? But I think it can go both directions. The biggest thing, though, is the amount of work they put together into writing the grants. It sometimes can be tremendous. So we have faculty working days and nights, working to the last minute to submit a funding proposal. So federal funding proposals like NSF or NIH can be very demanding, and you're competing with everybody else, like MIT, Harvard included. So your success rate in many times is only 20%, which basically means if you spend days and nights, you write 5 proposals. If you're average in terms of this kind of skill, you can only get one of them funded, right? So that's why it's also sometimes important faculty looking into some of the industry fundings. Those kind of funding are more like a contract. They want some tools, for example, law enforcement. They want some utility that can help them find out what's going on. So you should also listen to those kind of call for proposal. But then the chances of getting those kind of proposal funders might be a little bit easier. Depends on whether you have related backgrounds.
You mentioned some of the national funding agencies like NSF, National Science Foundation, DoD, Department of Defense, NIH.
It's the National Institute of Health.
Okay, very good. And for agencies like these, we were just kind of attacking it from the angle of a professor comes up with a proposal, looks for funding. Yeah. Does it happen in reverse as well? Like, does the NSF or the Department of Defense say, we have this project, we need to study this, and we're looking for people who have the expertise to do that?
Yeah, that's where they publish the RFPs.
Ah, very good.
So
request for proposal.
Yes, but it barely happened. They contact you directly to say, hey, you know what? I think you can do this. That's typically not how people handle things. They always publish something so that making this equal opportunity, open access to all the researchers out there. So that's typically how they handle things, making sure it's open, competitive, and end up getting the best proposal for the type of work they want.
Okay. 1 or 2 more questions in the Research 101 basic course that you're giving us. Each project has a lead researcher known as the principal investigator or PI. Yeah. And projects often have 1 or more additional people on the team. So in the timeline of a project, when does the PI invite other researchers to collaborate? How do you choose those collaborators? How do you know when to include people from other departments or even other colleges?
Yes, this is a very important question because for every single proposal, often the one that worked the hardest is the principal investigator, PI. So the PI will put together the team from the get-go. So they read, the PI read the proposals and think, okay, I probably need a component A, B, C. Who can do A? Who can do B? Who can do C? So it is really sometimes PI's job to talk to different folks in the field and ask them to be the co-PI to work on this whole proposal effort. So the team, the co-PI role, co-PI role has to be formed before you start writing the proposal. Everybody have to understand what are the expectations, what is your contribution to the proposal itself. When the proposal is funded, how we're going to split up the work, and how do we cover the student expense and all that. So this is from the very beginning. They have to get involved. But then the academic is kind of fluid. So there are times people leave. And if somebody, for example, if you have a co-PI in your team who unfortunately have to go to different institution, it is your job to figure out whether, set the money, forward the money to the fund to the other institution, or maybe find another, faculty to replace that role. So it all depends on the requirement of different funding agencies. But I think the key here is the PI has to be very knowledgeable in terms of who can do what, and often takes a long time for people to have this kind of collaboration relationship. Sometimes coming from working with a paper together or maybe attend a conference together, that kind of relationship really helps you to build a successful team.
So this is why you network. This is why you go to conferences. Exactly. This is why you even go to faculty meetings and other events that are on campus to get researchers from across campus meeting each other and learning people's strengths and how they can contribute.
Yes, you're exactly right.
Okay. There are about a dozen research centers here in Purdue Polytechnic, plus 3 what we call research impact areas. Why don't we talk about the latter first? Sure. So back in 2018, the college formed the strategic research impact areas. They're called Realizing the Digital Enterprise, Future Work and Learning, and Holistic Safety and Security. Could you please tell us what is the overall purpose of these strategic research impact areas?
Yeah, this is such a great question. It goes back directly to your previous question. Well, how do PI know who to talk to? So I think our college is facing that kind of question back then. We're looking at say, well, how do we know who is who in our college? If a faculty try to work on a certain topic, how does the faculty know who is working in the similar field and what's going on? How do we keep the faculty engaged? So this is really something that actually started out from Carrie Berger. She's actually really instrumental in terms of designing the research impact area. And actually, at first, we have 5 of them. But after a couple of years, and we realized, well, you know what? This is not a clean cut. Maybe we can merge some of them. So ultimately, we reduce from 5 to 3. And for each research impact area, there's a little bit of seed money. You have a research impact area faculty lead. So they're meeting constantly. They talk about each other's work, looking at the funding opportunities, have a discussion of those. And you sometimes have the graduate student doing their, present their work. Sometimes faculty present their work. So I think that the key things about this research impact area has been providing a trusted environment for the faculty to participate, to understand who is doing what. And that gives them the sense of, if I need to write a proposal, who should I invite to work together? So this is I think is something extremely important for our college, especially everybody have sometimes very different expertise. So research impact area really connect the people together and allow us to sometimes write a bigger grant, if you will.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like they're a fantastic tool for just getting people together and to know,
exactly.
like another way to get people connected.
Yes.
Interdisciplinary research, that is research that crosses the boundaries of departments, colleges, even universities. Why is interdisciplinary research so important in today's world?
Yeah, I think the main drive of the interdisciplinary work is really because a lot of the challenges we try to address become more and more complex. It's not like at the beginning, if your research is only try to discover certain material and that you can be a silo. You can just get a few great students to work with you. And then sometimes if you look at a field in the mathematics, you don't really need a great team because the question is very well defined. All you need is just consistency and talent, and to try to attack the problem from a different angle. But I think the world is completely different now. If you're looking at all the tools, the utility, and with data become a additional tools for people doing scientific research, and also thinking about AI, how many of the scientists saw this before, where AI could be part of the research utility for them to explore to for drug discovery, for all that kind of thing. So I think with the evolvement of all the excitement of technologies and all that, the research method, research tools are become more and more a wider spread, if you will. So having that kind of thing, and your problems is also getting more and more complex. You try to deliver real world impact. This is not something one or two person can do, right? Let's take a very simple example. Let's just simply say, well, if I want to design an app, making sure that it can really attract users, I want this to be an instant hit. It's not only just about the software design. There's also user experience. There's also a expectation of psychology study. How do you, what a different trick you can do to make sure people can really, hook up with your particular app. So all that complex nature making us to believe that current research, if you want to generate real world impact, it has to be interdisciplinary. It has coming from a different field. Another thing I also want to address about this interdisciplinary study, it's not just us. It's not just the faculty talk. It's not just the Polytechnic think, oh, we should do interdisciplinary. It is also a kind of a guidance coming from agencies like NSF, where they recognize the problem is so complex. We need a very big team. We need a very diverse team. We need a team coming from different disciplines to tackle this problem together to really generate the research, have meaningful impact, and really improve humans' quality of life.
That's interesting to hear that even the funding agencies see the need for researchers from all different academic backgrounds to be able to look at an issue from all angles.
Yes.
So I like that. Would you please tell us, since we're talking about this interdisciplinary work and trying to connect people, let's go back to the strategic research impact areas. Would you please tell us about each of them? Why don't we start with realizing the digital enterprise?
Yes. The realizing digital enterprise, some of the typical work you will see from this group are using data science or using machine learning, try to do something to improve certain processes. So we have, at our college, we have some really interesting work. For example, you have faculty working in smart manufacturing, right? You have the sensor, you have the data, you have all those different decision tools. Well, how can you automate this whole process? So our college is really, really successful in terms of pushing the research in smart manufacturing. And we also have an educational component to show off our smart manufacturing. And we also have IMAC, which is led by Nate. It's a very, very significant effort within our state. And we also have faculty who publish in the top 4 machine learning conferences competing with computer science. Those conferences are like AAAI, ICML, NeurIPS, and CVPR. Those are very, very high impact conferences. So our faculty are able to come up with a different design or optimized algorithm so that it can use their algorithm in the autonomous driving scenario, maybe in the case of doing the automatic detect any kind of defects from manufacturing parts. So a lot of interesting work happening in the research impact area. It's all about thinking about how we better use technology to really generate some meaningful use, in particular in the field of data science and AI.
Sure. Okay, so that was realizing the digital enterprise. Next one, would you please tell us about future work and learning?
Future work and learning is such a a great hit for our college because we are so connected with our students and also connected with people who are already at the workforce, but they feel the need to learn additional material. So our college is actually really successful in terms of getting the funding from NSF for providing the training for the workforce and providing training to outreach to maybe community and maybe the underrepresented population. The whole idea is not everybody have the time or the money to attend the 4-year college education. And then you also have a significant a gap between what's available out there in terms of curriculum versus the reality because your technology pushed too fast. So there are certain things not developed. And then you also have the case where the whatever you learned at college is already outdated. I mean, I just look at myself, I was thinking about all the great things I learned from college 30 years ago. A lot of things are completely expired, right? So the fundamentals are still there. So I have to push myself really hard to keep learning the new things, new tools, and same challenge in facing for the workforce. So how do you actually come up with something to deliver something incremental to provide that kind of knowledge to people at work? And in particular, thinking about cybersecurity is such a new thing. Well, can you come up with a training module that makes sense to the workforce and it's also manageable for a full-time employee to learn this, to apply the knowledge at the work, and also maybe hopefully getting a different track for them to work at the field, hopefully getting better pay. So our future work and learning, so have that kind of need in there. But we're also very innovative when I'm thinking about, well, how can we better teach STEM? So STEM education is part of a very important piece for that particular research impact area. And we're very fortunate to have many great thinkers in our college, and they constantly pushing the boundary and figure out different ways to teach our K-12 students become better and more capable in the future workforce.
Yes, we like to say that our college is the T in STEM, science, technology,
exactly.
Engineering, and math. Yeah. And the third of the strategic research impact areas, holistic safety and security.
Yes. This research impact area actually have two major components. One's safety, the other security. So safety is more about protecting humans, right? So we have faculty, for example, in the aviation industry, they spend a lot of time doing the safety. We have folks in CMT, they study well how can you figure out any kind of detection mechanism. You can see human getting absolutely tired, and you send them a mistake and just say, hey, maybe you want to go to the rest area to take a short nap before you keep driving. So the safety is an area you want to protect a human. And in addition to the typical safety research, we also have some of the faculty doing the research in something we call cyber physical system. And this is also very, very important. How do you protect your critical system, right? And I think the same thing for the attack. It really impact. The purpose was having the software to protect those critical infrastructure. But when you roll out updates in such a fashion, it actually making things much worse. So those are certainly the things we should think about. But those are the more on the safety side. Now, security. It certainly is something extremely important, right? I mean, you got ransomware hit all the time. You have denied of services attack. Sometimes you got some stolen password and all that kind of things. So our college is very fortunate to have a great number of faculty working in this particular field. And one particular area I think our college did very well is the digital forensics. So this is where when something happened, well, if you acquired their digital devices, can you actually create something from the devices they have, making them into something presentable in the course as artifact for the course case to make an argument whether something really happened and all that kind of stuff. So thinking about an example of the assassinating attempt for Trump, well, if you got this guy's cell phone, how do you actually analyze what searches he has done and what are things he studied? So those are part of things that our college did very well. We have a number of faculty that did fabulous work and is able to support research from NIJ, National Institute of Justice, and the DOJ, Department of Justice. So we develop many different tools for them. So that's the forensic side. And the security, of course, is about how do you build your network more secure? How do you provide privacy? So we have faculty, they have the proposal, try to build the privacies and all that, got funded by the NSF as a career award, which is one of the highest award you can get from for a young investigator. So NSF basically saying, you know what, we have such a trust on you. We believe you can do something great. Here's the money. Go do whatever you want in the specific topic you want to do.
Mm-hmm. We talked with Gary Bertolini, our former dean, in our last podcast episode, and he mentioned, just as you just did, how important it is in our college that we have faculty who are so good at instructing. They're very good in the classroom, but also now very good in the realm of research, and as measured by things like NSF Career Awards for research.
Yeah.
So a couple minutes ago in our conversation, I mentioned research centers in the college as well. We've been talking about the strategic research impact areas, but we have a number of established research centers, including teams who are focused on things like advanced aviation analytics, alternative fuels for aviation, design and construction integration, manufacturing efficiency, smart manufacturing, as you mentioned, biometrics, robotics, and robots and sensors for human well-being, and that's to name just a few. How does the work being done in our research centers connect with the strategic research impact areas that we've been talking about?
So first of all, I have to admit, I don't know all the different centers. When you're looking at how great our college is doing, there's so many exciting things going on. So I know some of the work, but not all of them. But connection between the research impact area and the centers, the research impact area is more like team bonding, kind of like a pre-center phase, if you will. It's where you get to know other people, you know their work, you have their faculty support group, and you try to learn the ABCs, you try to understand how can we put together a better, strong proposal, how do I better manage graduate students, and how do we better manage budget, and if something happens, how do I do? So a lot of what if as the places where we can learn. What the centers are your action team. It's where you decided, hey, I want to do something. So in addition to sometimes it's just solely based on one big proposal. But a lot of time you will see a center will keep pushing for more research grants. So you have a group of faculty who want to work together. They're constantly looking for funding opportunities to feed into this center. So center in certain way are certainly the action centers. The benefit of having centers are a lot of time they have the better visibility, and they can sometimes talk to the industry directly. They have the vetting from the industry, and your center can really deliver the work. And I think that another way, again, back using President Chang's comment, is excellent skill. You don't want just, I'm a great researcher, but that's not enough. You want to have a group of great researchers that really can do greater things. And also I want to mention that part of the things we want to do here in our college is really moving from this research impact area towards the centers. So I want to share some of the exciting things with you. One of the things we're trying to build is the RDE, research impact area. The core research function of that particular group is going to be moving towards a applied AI center. So basically means we're going to get rid of the self-introduction, blah, blah. We're just moving on to action stage because people already know each other. They kind of know the work, and their feeling is mature enough for them to become a center and working on certain things, go after a bigger grant. And this is something that will happen in the next couple of months. We have this applied AI center will be opening. We also have going to have more of the centers in the pipeline, but we don't want to roll them out all at once. So there will be center just focusing on the future workforce and learning. There will also be a center focusing on more on the safety and security side. So the research impact area will more become that kind of teaming activity in that stage versus the center are really taking the center of taking all the different actions. I also want to mention that there are some of the centers that actually were pretty high profile. For example, one of the centers that is called AIDA 3 is leading by Polytechnic faculty, and it has a group of faculty outside Polytechnic working with engineering. It actually have a very, very big impact, are able to connect, people from different department, from different industry, and it has a very ambitious goal moving forward. So my impression for our college in terms of the future is really having more of those centers, have more of the faculty that are very ambitious, really want to do great things, and all we need to do is just providing the resources and the support they need, and making sure that they have everything they possibly can have to really doing these great things.
Sounds like just the natural evolution of the research impact areas. They formed 5-6 years ago.
Yes.
And as you mentioned, they kind of serve to be a social construct to get people connected, figure out how to manage the whole process.
Yes.
And now they're starting to evolve into more permanent fixtures or larger scale, more well-defined things.
Yes.
That sounds like a natural evolution. I like that.
Okay, thank you.
So, and I think you've just started to answer my next question. It's been nearly a year since you were appointed Associate Dean for Research. So what's next for you and for your team, I guess beyond evolving the impact areas into centers? How do you hope to facilitate the continuation of the growth of research in Purdue Polytechnic?
Okay, so before I talk about the future, I just want to say how much I appreciated the opportunity to serving our faculty. We have a great college with faculty doing a phenomenal job pushing the research. So this past year, we were doing so great. We the research funding, research expenditure, and the proposal all reached all-time high just in 1 year. And remember, last year, we barely get any new faculty. So the faculty, you're still looking at the same number of faculty, still looking at the typical 2+2 teaching load, and they're able to deliver this kind of results is really amazing. So a lot of gratitude for the opportunity to work in this role. So in the future, I think we're still going to focusing on generating high impact work. Sometimes I have to think, is this just a number game? Because a lot of time when it comes to ranking, people will ask you, hey, what is the research expenditure? Back to your very first question about our one institution. Your research expenditure is going to be the number people will look at you. So those numbers are important, but probably more important is ask us, how can we, the Polytechnic faculty doing the research, generate more impact? So this is going to be the key question for me to think about. And I'm going to go organize my office in a way to say, well, how can we better support our faculty? Because there are times faculty, I just want to give you a numbers in terms of the workload. If you're looking at the pre-tenure faculty, it is not uncommon for them to work 80 hours a week or more because they feel very insecure. They want to get more grants and all that. So how can you actually provide a little bit more of mentorship, making sure they understand what are things are high priority and what kind of support you can provide them. And you also have faculty who just always overwork because they always want to get the perfect results. Well, how can you provide that kind of support to them to reduce their overhead and making sure that getting all the support they needed? So I think those are the main thing I'm focusing on. The second thing I'm also want to say is we have another great opportunity come to our college is the Indy. So Purdue Indy is going to open up a completely different opportunities for us. We have a wonderful faculty over there, and we need to learn, know them better, know their work better. We need to let them know our work better. So we really because we keep talking about they're supposed to be a one campus. So we have to be able to connect people at West Lafayette and the Indy together. There's so many great opportunities at the Indianapolis location with all the industries and all that. So my next priority is making sure that the people want to do great things, are able to connect with all the different opportunities can be part of the great teams and can have enjoying the process of keep exploring the opportunities not only at West Lafayette but Indianapolis and beyond Indiana. So I just see the future of our college when it comes to research is going to be very exciting.
Before we finish, is there anything when we first talked about doing this recording together, is there anything that you thought maybe we should talk about that we haven't talked about?
Sure. I think there's one thing I really want to highlight is our faculty when it comes to research, often, if you're thinking about the typical research, people always think about science and engineering, where technology, people always think, oh, is that really a research? So this is why if you're looking at the typical journals, they're mostly geared towards science and engineering versus really not much of journal really just meant for technology. So the thing I want to mention here is our faculty are able to publish for a typical engineering-related journal, no problem. We have some great publication coming from our college, and our faculty are really working on both hands-on teaching and applied research, use-inspired research. I think sometimes the difficulty is way underestimated. For someone to know the knowledge, it's not too difficult, but someone have the hands-on knowledge and it can translate that hands-on knowledge into applied research. It really demands the faculty to have a very deep understanding the whole technology and has the hands-on experience and also have the theoretical thinking to push the boundary and make it better. So for that, I really want to just highly praise our Polytechnic faculty for the wonderful work they have done, not only in high quality teaching, but also can translate that hands-on teaching into applied, use-inspired research, can generate real-world impact.
Justin Yang, Associate Dean for Research. Purdue Polytechnic's Office of Research publishes a free newsletter. You can read it online or sign up to receive it by email. Find the details in our show notes at polytechnic.purdue.edu/podcast and look for episode 21. Next time on Techies Today, why is it strategically important to have a vibrant and growing portfolio of research in our college? Dean Daniel Castro looks at research with a wide-angle lens.